how this came to pass, but in fact the United States has never really had a torture program in place. What happened was shortly after 9/11, the Vice President put into motion a hurry-up offense, so to speak, on skilling up in this field, and in fact the CIA had no interrogation program, extensive interrogation program at all. In fact, what they had to do was they went to a school that most military officers, airborne and special forces go to, called SEER, Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape. And that's where they go to learn how to resist interrogation techniques that they may be subjected to if they were ever caught behind enemy lines. And that's where they learned about things like water torture, waterboarding, which was something that was put in place by Pol Pot and the Spanish Inquisition, of course, but was potentially used as far back as Korea. And so all of these officers experienced this very intensive counter-torture training or resistance training, and they had to reverse engineer a torture program from that. The CIA, as I said, had no program in place and had to do it on the fly, really willy-nilly. And in the memos that have been declassified recently, they've often pointed out that they didn't actually want to do this. So I think it's a mistake to suggest that this has been going on forever, and in fact it's not something that's been going on in previous administrations except for the last one. And so I would probably disagree in saying that there hasn't been a signal change. I think the significant change was in the last couple of years, and we've reverted back to normalcy under the Obama administration.
Objection. It's all wrong. It's all wrong.
Is this torture? No, I mean, this is all open source information.
But it's, I'm sorry, no.
Let's hear from Paul. He probably did a movie on this.
Look, I'm no professor on this. But I am from Latin America, and that changes things for me. We all have to live with our history. That's the baggage that we bring. In 1963, there was an American police officer who was sent to Uruguay by the name of Danny Triano, who participated in torture, who conducted torture sessions against the leftist urban guerrilla in Uruguay. Alberto del Huizon, who was in El Salvador, was a great master torturer, was taught his torture techniques at the School of the Americas, which is an American military base in the southern U.S., and this was in the 1970s. Going on to Guatemala, torture that happened there. People were taught by the Americans to carry out torture. Torture was carried out in Central America in the presence of military officers. The winner of the Jutra Prize for Best Documentary this year, just a few days ago, is a documentary called Under the Hood, which is essentially the history of American organized torture in Latin America and the world in the last 40 years. And there was, indeed, the torture manual written by the CIA in the 1960s, which was made. Excuse me, this is all available. Should I get it for you?
I would love to read it because
please, we all love
start by seeing.
Please,
Go under the hood.
If it's on the web, someone lead it to us.
I'm not making the claim, just so you know, that there was never any torture at any instance. What I'm saying is that most of the time it was done by proxies. Unfortunately, in Jordanian prisons and Egyptian prisons and places like that, the CIA may have turned the other cheek and looked the other way, and in some cases, under extraordinary renditions, sent them to places where they knew they'd be tortured.
I put it to you that they learned it with American CIA training manuals. They did it in the presence of CIA officers, and there is an American nun who can tell you about it and wrote a book about being tortured in the presence of an American official in Central America. This is in the film that I'm just telling you about.
Again,
okay, just a second, please. Please,
more than anything else.
Sam and then Brian. But